Oh God, I can still feel his hands, rough yet gentle, tracing patterns on my skin. His breath, warm and ragged, tickling my neck as he whispers my name. Evie, he says, voice hoarse with desire, you're not making this easy. Easy? What's so easy about this? About the way my heart hammers in my chest whenever he's near, or how my body aches for his touch. Nothing about this feels easy, yet here we are, dancing on the edge of something forbidden, something that could tear our world apart. But isn't it always like this with us? From the moment I called him Dad, our bond has been anything but ordinary. He was there when Mom got sick, holding her hand as much as mine. He filled our home with laughter and love, chasing away the darkness that threatened to consume us. And now, he's filling my life with a different kind of warmth, one that sets my blood on fire and leaves me questioning everything I thought I knew about love, desire, and family. I'm Evie Thompson, 19 years old, living in the shadow of a secret that could destroy us both. Because you see, Rick Hartley isn't just my stepdad. He's the man who makes my heart race, the one whose touch sets me ablaze. And I'm not talking about the kind of love between a father and daughter. It started with stolen glances, accidental touches, and late-night conversations that bordered on intimacy. Then came the first real moment, his hand on mine during a storm, fingers intertwined as lightning cracked outside. After that, it was like we were playing with fire, dancing closer to the flame each time, daring each other to take one step further. And now here we are, tangled in sheets, bodies pressed together, breathing each other's air. His hands roam, exploring curves he's helped shape over years of love and laughter. My own hands aren't idle, they trace the lines of his body, committing every inch to memory. Evie, he pants against my lips, we shouldn't, we can't. But I silence him with a kiss, pulling him closer, deeper into this dance we've been waltzing around for years. Because even though we're playing with fire, even though this could burn us both alive, I can't stop. Not now. Not when I'm so close to finally understanding the truth behind those fleeting glances and lingering touches. So yes, this is complicated. This is forbidden. But it's also real, raw, and more intense than anything I've ever felt before. And as his hands continue their exploration, as his mouth trails kisses down my neck, I realize that no matter where this takes us, there's no going back. Not for me. Not anymore. Because I'm falling, tumbling headfirst into something terrifyingly beautiful. And all I can do is hope that he'll catch me when I hit rock bottom. Or maybe, just maybe, we'll both go up in flames together. As I turned 19, our dynamic shifted subtly. Rick started working from home more often, his study becoming a second living room for us. We'd spend hours together, discussing books, politics, even sharing headphones to listen to music. His cologne, earthy and warm, became my comfort scent. But it was more than just a smell, it was the scent of secrets whispered in the dark, of desires left unspoken. One sunny afternoon, I leaned against him while he played the guitar. The vibrations hummed through me as his voice filled the room, rich and smooth, like aged whiskey. He sang about lost love and forbidden fruit, each word resonating deep within my soul. When he finished, we turned to each other simultaneously, our faces inches apart. His breath hitched, eyes flicking between mine before settling on my lips. I felt his gaze like a physical touch, sending shivers down my spine. The air thickened around us, charged with an electric tension that made it hard to breathe. Evie, he started, voice barely above a whisper, you're not making this easy. Not making what easy? I asked, my own voice steady, despite the storm raging inside me. He swallowed hard, gaze never leaving mine. This thing between us that's getting harder and harder to ignore. I should have been shocked, appalled even. But all I felt was relief. Relief at finally hearing him acknowledge this pull, this connection that had been growing stronger with each stolen glance, each accidental touch. Then don't ignore it, I said, leaning in slightly, daring him to meet me halfway. He closed his eyes briefly, as if wrestling with some internal struggle. Then, ever so slowly, he leaned in, pressing his forehead against mine. Evie, he murmured, this is dangerous territory. Maybe, I admitted, but isn't danger part of what makes life worth living? His lips twitched into a small smile at that. When did you get so wise? I've always been this way, I replied, grinning back, you just never noticed until now. He chuckled softly, shaking his head. Then, before I could react, he leaned in and pressed a soft kiss to my lips. It was quick, barely more than a brush of skin against skin. But it sent my heart racing nonetheless. As we pulled away, reality came crashing back. What had we just done? Could we really go there, cross that line that society told us not to? But as I looked into his eyes, filled with a mixture of desire and fear, I knew one thing for certain, we were already falling. And all that was left to do now, was hope like hell we didn't hit rock bottom along the way. Because even though this was dangerous, even though it went against everything we'd been taught to believe in, I couldn't deny what I felt when I was with him. It was intoxicating, exhilarating, and terrifyingly real. A few weeks before New Year's Eve, Rick offered to help me move some boxes from the attic. It was stuffy up there, the air thick with dust and memories. I'd dressed in an old t-shirt and shorts, not thinking twice about what I wore until I saw the way his eyes widened when he caught sight of my exposed midriff. Evie, he said sharply, cover up. I turned to face him, taken aback by the sudden change in tone. What's wrong? He hesitated, looking away briefly before meeting my gaze again. You're showing too much skin. My hands instinctively went to my stomach, feeling the bare flesh above my shorts. I blushed, suddenly self-conscious under his scrutiny. Pulling my shirt down, I muttered an apology. But as we continued working side by side, I couldn't shake off the tension between us. His gaze kept flicking back to me, lingering on places it had no business being. And each time our hands brushed innocent touches born out of proximity and necessity, I felt a jolt run through me, like an electric current. By the time we finished, my heart was pounding wildly in my chest. As we descended the creaky staircase back into the safety of our home, I couldn't help but wonder what was happening between us. Was it just me imagining things? Or were we both dancing around something far more dangerous? Later that night, alone in my room, I found myself replaying every stolen glance, every accidental touch. My hand wandered south, beneath the waistband of my pajama shorts, seeking solace in the familiar rhythm of self-pleasure. But tonight, it wasn't just any fantasy playing out behind my closed eyelids. It was Rick's hands on my skin, his mouth against mine, his body pressed against me. I imagined him here with me now, his strong fingers replacing mine, his voice whispering filthy promises in my ear. Guilt gnawed at me as I reached my peak, waves of pleasure, crashing over me like a tidal wave. This was wrong, so incredibly wrong. He was my stepdad for God's sake. But try as I might, I couldn't deny the way my body responded to him. Or the fact that, despite knowing better, I wanted more. Because even though our relationship was forbidden, even though society would frown upon us if they ever found out, there was no denying the truth staring me right in the face. I wanted Rick Hartley. More than anything. And judging by his actions today, he wanted me too. And that scared me. Because once you cross a line like this, there's no going back. No matter how hard you try, the ghosts of your past always find a way to haunt you. And sometimes, those ghosts look an awful lot like love. Or something dangerously close to it. New Year's Eve arrived, and Rick surprised me by deciding to dress up as Santa Claus for the charity event we were volunteering at. I laughed nervously when he emerged from his room, looking every bit the jolly old elf with his fake beard and belly. As the night wore on, I found myself stealing glances at him across the crowded hall. Each smile he sent my way made my heart flutter like a teenager's. But it was more than just butterflies, it was an aching need that grew stronger with each passing moment. Finally, as the clock ticked down to midnight, Rick caught me by the refreshments table. Evie, he started, voice low and serious, I need to talk to you. My heart pounded in my chest, anticipation making me feel lightheaded. What is it? He hesitated, looking around nervously before leaning in closer. This thing between us. It can't keep going on like this. Fear gripped me suddenly. Was he going to put an end to whatever was happening between us? Call a stop to all those stolen glances and heated moments? But then his hand reached out, cupping my cheek gently. His thumb brushed against my lips, making them tingle. I can't ignore it anymore, he said quietly, eyes locked onto mine. I can't keep pretending I don't want you. Relief flooded through me, followed by a surge of desire so intense it took my breath away. You want me? I whispered, barely daring to believe it. He nodded, leaning in closer still until his lips were mere inches from mine. More than anything, he admitted, voice hoarse with need. But we can't, not here. Not like this. I knew he was right, but that didn't stop the disappointment from settling heavily in my stomach. Until he leaned in further, pressing a soft kiss to my forehead. Meet me outside, he whispered, pulling back slightly. By the old oak tree. And just like that, the disappointment vanished, replaced by excitement and anticipation. Because this was at our point of no return. Once we went through with whatever happened next, there would be no going back. Our relationship would change irrevocably, crossing a line from which there could be no retreat. But as I looked into his eyes, filled with a mixture of desire and fear, I knew without a doubt that I wanted this. Wanted him. No matter the consequences. So, with my heart pounding like a drum in my chest, I nodded. Okay, I breathed, barely above a whisper. I'll meet you there. As he walked away, leaving me alone amidst the crowd of revelers counting down to midnight, I couldn't shake off the feeling that my life was about to change forever. And whether for better or worse remained to be seen. But as I stepped outside into the cold night air, heading towards our waiting fate beneath the old oak tree, one thing became crystal clear: whatever happened next, we were in this together. For better or for worse, we'd face it side by side. Because sometimes, love or something dangerously close to it demands a leap of faith into the unknown. And tonight, I was ready to take that leap. We stumbled apart as reality crashed back around us, the sound of distant revelry serving as a stark reminder of where we were and what we'd just done. I ran out of the hall without looking back, leaving Rick standing alone amidst the crowd. By the time I got home, my heart was pounding wildly in my chest, my mind racing with 1,000 thoughts and fears. What had we just done? How could I face him now, knowing what we'd shared? But as I sat there on the couch, hugging my knees to my chest, I couldn't deny the truth staring me right in the face. No matter how wrong it might be, no matter the consequences that awaited us, I wanted Rick. More than anything. The front door opened softly, and he stepped inside, looking just as torn and conflicted as I felt. He hesitated before walking over to where I sat, then perched on the edge of the couch beside me. Evie, he began quietly, we need to talk. I looked up at him through tear-streaked eyes, seeing the same turmoil reflected in his own gaze. What do we say? I whispered, voicing my thoughts aloud. How can we possibly make sense of this? He sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair. I don't know, he admitted, turning to face me fully. But we have to try. So we talked about everything and nothing, avoiding the elephant in the room for as long as possible. Until finally, inevitably, our conversation circled back around to what had happened between us. Evie, he started again, voice barely above a whisper, I'm so sorry. That shouldn't have happened. I bit my lip, trying to hold back another wave of tears. But it did, Dad, I said quietly, echoing the words from earlier. And I can't just pretend it didn't. His eyes met mine, filled with a mix of fear and longing. Neither can I, he admitted, reaching out to take my hand. His fingers tightened around mine as if seeking comfort or maybe just reassurance that this wasn't all in his head. Because even though we both knew it was wrong, even though society would frown upon us if they ever found out, there was no denying the truth staring us right in the face. We cared about each other deeply, perhaps even loved each other in a way that transcended societal norms and expectations. But loving someone didn't make acting on those feelings any less complicated or dangerous. And as we sat there, holding hands like two teenagers navigating their first relationship, I couldn't help but wonder what came next for us. Where did we go from here? Was it even possible to build a future together, despite the obstacles that lay ahead? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain, whatever happened next, we'd face it side by side. Because sometimes, love or something dangerously close to it demands sacrifice and courage in equal measure. And tonight, I was ready to give both. Even if it meant risking everything we held dear in the process. As I sit here now, months removed from the night our lives changed irrevocably, I find myself lost in thought, reflecting on the whirlwind journey Rick and I have embarked upon. Our relationship, once forbidden and taboo, has evolved into something deeply profound and undeniably real. Yet, it remains a delicate balance, teetering on the precipice of acceptance and condemnation. Society would have us believe that our love is an abomination, a twisted perversion of what's natural and right. But when I look into Rick's eyes, those deep blue pools that hold my entire world within them, I see nothing but love reflected back at me. A love that has grown stronger with each passing day, despite the guilt and fear that still linger in the shadows. We've come so far together, navigating uncharted territory with courage and determination. Through whispered conversations in the dead of night, stolen kisses behind closed doors, and countless heart-to-heart talks that have left us both raw and vulnerable, we've forged a bond unlike any other. It's a connection that transcends societal norms and expectations, defying convention to become something pure and true. Yet, even as I write this, I can't help but feel a sense of unease gnawing at the edges of my consciousness. Because no matter how much we love each other, there will always be those who refuse to accept us, people who see only depravity and sin where we find beauty and redemption. And so, our future remains uncertain, hanging in the balance, like a pendulum poised to swing either way at the slightest provocation. Will we continue to defy the odds, forging ahead together against all adversity? Or will fate conspire to tear us apart, leaving us broken and alone? Only time will tell, I suppose. For now, though, all we can do is hold on to each other tightly, facing whatever storms lie ahead side by side. Because even if the world around us crumbles to dust, our love remains unbroken, a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. But as I bring this story to a close, I find myself wondering what comes next for you, dear reader. Have you ever found yourself questioning societal norms and expectations in pursuit of something truly meaningful? Have you ever loved someone so deeply that it terrified you? Or perhaps you've experienced firsthand the isolating effects of judgment and condemnation from those who claim to know better. Whatever your story may be, I invite you to share your thoughts with me below. Let's build a community here, one where we can openly discuss love in all its forms, challenging conventional wisdom and embracing our shared humanity along the way. So go ahead, speak your truth. Tell me about the forbidden bonds that have shaped your life, or perhaps simply share what resonated with you most throughout Rick and my journey together. And who knows? Maybe, just maybe, we can find healing, understanding, and connection in our shared experiences, both triumphant and heartbreaking alike. Because at the end of the day, isn't that what we're all seeking? A sense of belonging, a place to call home within this vast and sometimes frightening world. And while our paths may diverge, our stories intertwined forever by virtue of our shared existence on this planet. So let's embrace the unexpected, roll with the punches life throws at us, and above all, never stop seeking out the love that defines us even when it leads us down roads less traveled. Who knows? Perhaps together, we can redefine what it truly means to be human. And now, as this chapter of our story comes to a close, I leave you with one final thought. Remember that love in all its messy, complex, and sometimes forbidden glory has the power to change everything. It can break us apart or mend our broken hearts, challenge our perceptions and transform our lives in ways we never could have imagined. So go forth with open hearts and minds, dear friends. Embrace the unexpected, cherish those you hold dear, and above all, never stop believing in the power